Hello everyone and welcome to another New World discussion video. My name's Brian if you happen to be new here at the channel, but if you're a part of the 15,283 who've hit that subscribe button and taken a chance on my content, welcome back and thanks so much for checking out today's video. Now, I want to talk about the upcoming expansion because it is absolutely radio silent, and a lot of that's due to the fact that Gamescom is right around the corner. We've seen New World show up at Gamescom before, so that's really where I'm kind of putting all of my, I guess, expectations, not necessarily all my hopes and dreams, but just the expectations this time around. The reason ends up being is that we're also waiting to hear more, and it looks like Throne of Liberty's pushed out to 2024 as well. Obviously, Blue Protocol already announced that they're doing that. So from Amazon's entire gaming kind of offering outside of, Lost Ark, this is kind of their big event this fall. And I think that actually works out in their favor. I think that works out in our favor because that's going to allow them to focus the spotlight on this game. Now, I want to talk about my expectations, my expansion wish list, if you will. But for those of you who have been following along, let me catch everybody up to speed on what they announced first, because I don't want to spend any time with my wish list on what they've already confirmed to be coming. So bringing up the roadmap, we can see here MSQ update, perk balance updates, seasonal and world events, territory influence updates, and a new season pass. And that's just a part of season 3, which coalesces with the expansion. The expansion is stated to have a new story, a zone transformed, which we know First Light is currently under works, a new expedition, mounts, a new weapon, a new heart rune, and the gear score is going to be going up. My voice almost failed me. I think I recovered. I don't know. Let me know if you heard it in the comments. But this is also important to say, this roadmap may change and does not include all the planned content. For me, one of the things that I want to say, cross-world arenas and expeditions, I really wish they could make that in for the fall. That is perhaps, I think, the biggest miss, because you're going to get so much more attention and eyes and spotlighting. I get from a network infrastructure, variability and stability. You don't want to necessarily introduce too much, but it would be really nice to sit here and say with the expansion, guess what? Like all of that stuff, you can now play with your friends. It doesn't matter. But that is essentially kind of, I guess, the biggest kind of miss in my book, that it's still recoverable. I think that's something that at least we can all be telling people, hey, that's the winner. That is the next season right after the expansion, which will, I think, help out in some ways. But anyway, let's talk about my wish list. If there's anything on here that you align with, I'd love to hear it. But beyond that, if you guys have your own things that you're specifically looking forward to, sound off. I'm very curious to see what you guys are resonating with in terms of the game and the content here on the channel. Obviously, what I'm going to say first is not a shocker for anybody who has been a follower of my content for any period of time, but native controller support. They said, Scott on a podcast said that it is on its way, and the team that's working on it is the team that was working on the gear set storage system, which we got in the spring. I think that system is great, and I can't wait to see. Now, we obviously saw the UI even updated, but controller support is just going to make this game way more accessible and way easier to jump in and say, like, if you want to play on your Logitech G Cloud or your Steam Deck, and it's just going to take out so many little barriers for entry to the game, and I think that's going to be a huge win. I hope that actually hits with the expansion because it gives a lot of options. Obviously, the next thing to wonder is, will we see it on consoles? Honestly, I would lose my mind if they announced that it's coming to Xbox and PlayStation 5. I think it will come to those platforms. I don't know if the expansion is the time that they do that. It does feel like that would be a lot on their plates based off of what we've seen from the team, but maybe that's why we haven't seen that much from the team as of late. And what we are getting, I'm enjoying, but at the end of the day, we all kind of like, yeah, we want more. And I think the expansion ends up acting as a perfect example for that. But beyond controller support and beyond the rumor that this game will come to consoles, let's talk about more cross-world activities. I stated as a part of Season 4, cross-world arenas and expeditions, but really this is bringing in the ability to open up your party finder. And this is kind of blends right into Group Finder 2.0. The current set of the Group Finder, it just needs to be open everywhere. I think when you bring up the social menu, to be able to see what activities are going on and be able to then jump in and out of those activities, utilizing what they built for the group finder, but ultimately allowing it to just persist throughout the game. It's right now locked to expeditions. It's right now locked into clicking on the expedition, having discovered the expedition, and seeing what is available. I think ultimately they talked about, especially when they released it last year, so it will be out for over a year by the time the expansion is out, that I think a Group Finder 2.0 system will be a real refreshing change for people coming back to the game, or for those of us who are sticking with it to the expansion. Now, beyond Group Finder cross-world activities, like what that does is it takes the current set of what we have and elevates it, makes it easier to jump into, makes it easier to find what's going on, to socialize, which is, in my mind, kind of the biggest point of the MMO specifically, but not everybody needs to agree with me. But in this case, I still want to see more content. And this is just me being kind of biased in this regards. A rework for Wars and Innovations. Now, maybe this could easily just be a mock mode for both of these modes. A low pressure, just have fun with the modes kind of setup, allowing people to practice and kind of get experience, as opposed to like worrying that they're going to screw over the whole server if they do decide to flag up and jump in. The game's been out long enough that you really have the people who are absolutely participating in that. And then you have everybody else, perhaps maybe a little too, intimidated by doing that. And then also not necessarily wanting to set everything back. So that's the thing, that is content they have in game right now. And I think opening that up so people can kind of run it in practice mode would be really exciting to see for the expansion. All right. Now, this kind of blends into the rework of the territory control system. We see that territory influence updates set for Season 3 in the fall, and they've kind of teased about what some of that looks like. I really want to see some really cool systems brought in to play here. Not only with the clan, the guild, if you will, the company, not only with that, that connection, but also then tying into, I would love to see, for me personally, PvE have a impact by doing PvE related things, that you're generating points for your faction, for your company. Obviously not to the degree that you would for PvP. PvP should still take the lion's share, be weighted at 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. I don't care whatever those numbers shake out to, but the PvP and PvE are essentially a part of this game, and doing PvE related things is also helping out the PvP players, and the PvP players are also helping out the PvE players. A symmetry, kind of a complementary system here, as opposed to an adversarial system of like, oh yeah, we all know how it is. I always look to Final Fantasy 11. Basically, territory control was totaled up, and then at the end of the week, the points were distributed, and maybe then they have kind of the big war that everything is fought over, where in this case maybe you could have wars all week long for points for the capture, but the final deciding war would be kind of once a week maybe. I don't know, you guys can let me know what you think about it, but we'll go on from there. And then finally, the biggest thing that is not content related and everything they talked about, I would love to see the ability to actually guest on servers. And this is different from the group finder, cross expeditions, cross whatever. One of the things that has been since day one, when you're on a server and has a massive queue, that's just not fun. The game should let you just say, oh, okay, I want to play. Hey, there's a server that's got open space. Why don't you just go play, and we'll let you know when your queue is ready. So that way, ultimately, you're still in the game, you're still playing it. And this would allow you ideally to visit friends and things like that. Imagine, hey, I'm on another server. Well, I don't know if I want to transfer just yet, but I also at the same time would rather just jump in and play. There would obviously be restrictions, because having it be your home server would open it up. I think on a guested server, maybe you don't own houses and, things like that nature, where you're not necessarily fully taking advantage. I would think that you could still take resources back to your home world, but you guys can let me know if that's a good idea, bad idea. I know that would impact economies, and we'd have to have some kind of balances around it. But at the end of the day, I think being able to just play the game, especially in terms of when the game's popular, and then you obviously have queue times, and then yeah, it just makes it easier. I guess as a final thing, I didn't actually have this on my notes, but in talking with you guys today, really made me think of it. I'd love to see with new zones. Obviously, they say a zone transformed. I do think that we're getting more zones along with the expansion. It would feel a little bit weird if Brimstone was a full-on zone and we just got a rework of a zone. So I think that we will see new zones. And at the same time, I would love to see them increase the overall capacity that the servers are able to handle to account for the new space. This obviously going to hopefully take advantage of the mount system and so much more. But that's my expansion wish list. If you guys have any items that you liked out of it, let me know. If you guys have your own thoughts, let me know. I always love reading your comments, and I appreciate you guys for being here. So if you feel like the video earns it, hit that like button. It's a great way. I've been putting out like challenges on my videos. In fact, if I actually look at the last video, it got 206 likes. Holy freaking smokes. Thank you guys for that support. So maybe we'll keep it simple. We'll keep it humble here and say, hey, if this let me challenge you to 100 likes on this video. And thank you guys so much for the absolute support. You guys are the best. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, take care.